Welcome to Meet the Docs with your host, Grant Otten, brought to you by Columbus Community Hospital.
Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Meet the Docs, sponsored by the Columbus Community Hospital. I'm your host, Grant Otten, joined by Dr. Howerter today. Doctor, how are you?
I'm great, thanks.
Well, thanks for taking the time to talk with me. I appreciate it. We're over here in the emergency section, so let's just talk a little bit. What is it that you do here at Columbus Community Hospital?
Well, I'm an emergency room physician first and foremost, but I'm also director of the ER, which is kind of added to actual patient care activity.
Cool. And how did you kind of come into the position here at Columbus Community Hospital? How long have you been here?
I've been here 13 years, and I've been an ED doc for about 25 years. And prior to that, I actually was in private family practice for 5 years, so that gives you an idea of how old I am. Yeah. But I started my ED career in Indiana, where I trained. And then very shortly after that, because I'm a Nebraska native, decided I wanted to come back to Nebraska. And I was actually offered jobs in both Omaha and Lincoln, and opted for Lincoln, so I worked with the St. Elizabeth's group from 94 to 2004. And St. Elizabeth subcontracted to the other two hospitals in Lincoln, which was Bryan and Lincoln General, when Lincoln General was its own hospital. And then they subcontracted with Grand Island. So I worked all of those hospitals, and was actively recruited to come here by Gary Pulsifer, who was the CEO back in the early 2000s. And after telling him no 2 or 3 times, he finally wore me down. And the idea was they had a contract group, and they really wanted to have their own group, and they wanted one person to be kind of the point person to be the director of the ED, and that's the position they offered me. Gave me some latitude, let me hire my own doctors, and seemed like a good challenge. I got to know the community, got to know the hospital, and met with all the physicians in town, and after a period of time decided, yeah, it was a good thing to do, and I've actually never looked back.
And what was it that drew you to be an emergency doctor? Was there anything specifically that...
Yeah, I think, in my training was really more of a critical care training than a family practice training, and that was the stuff I really liked. And I found in the office it was, at least for me, just wasn't as fulfilling. And I really missed the critical care aspect, and I missed the pace of ER. So I actually started moonlighting in ERs as a private care or private physician, 25, 28 years ago, and found that I liked that part of my career much more than I liked my office career. So I finally made the decision to go full time. It's the pace, it's the acuity, it's the critical care nature of it, and trauma, and all of those things that I guess I have an aptitude for and an appetite for. So that's why I did it.
Well, the hospital's certainly changed a lot since you've started working here, but what's the emergency room care been like since you've been here? Yeah,
when I got here, we started doing ultrasound in the emergency room, which we weren't doing before, where we're doing actually hands-on. The ER doctor taking the ultrasound machine and using it as a diagnostic tool as part of our evaluation. Those are just some of the highlights, and probably the crown jewel is we built this department. When I got here, we had 5 rooms that were not very big and probably not adequate for what we tried to do, and now we have 11 rooms, and some of them can hold multiple people, and it's really state of the art. So it's been a huge enhancement to the hospital, I think.
Dr. Howard, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you as well for tuning in for another edition of Meet the Doc, sponsored by the Columbus Community Hospital. For Dr. Howerter, I'm Grant Otten. We'll see you guys next time.